From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. James, it's been a little bit since we've spoken, but I'm glad we're back and we have a nice tie-in episode from the themes that we've been discussing lately. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, Steve, and as always, it's great to be here talking about programming.
Absolutely. And it seems like we're getting more people that are reaching out to us, and we really appreciate that. One of those is Ben Woodruff. Thanks, Ben, for reaching out. He made a comment on LinkedIn about episode 73, where we were talking about compensation for AV programmers. And it was really nice for him to not only join in the conversation, share his thoughts. He appreciated us bringing this topic up, and he also thanked us for doing what we're doing, and we always appreciate that. So today we're going to talk a little bit more, kind of in the same vein, about how do we get the world of AV, the people that we work with, whether it's clients, whether it's people on an AV team, to really appreciate the value of programming. And we've talked about this in different episodes in the past. And sometimes it's really underestimated what it takes to do programming, why it costs so much, why you need the skill set that you need, and also with all of the different tools that are being made available, and the whole idea of no programming required, it kind of muddies the waters a bit. So, James, when people talk to you about this, and whether you're talking about the time when you were in charge of doing programming hands-on or overseeing other people doing programming, how do you explain to them really what is involved? Because it's really that invisible part aside for seeing the final product.
It's very hard. How do you explain to especially non-programmers the value that we bring? And I could never really come up with a good analogy until, unfortunately, this second. Like I just happen to think of one right now. And you got to think of us programmers like contractors, construction contractors, and configurator and those systems are great. They're your module homes. They get you done, up and going. Very little what you could do with it. And us programmers are your custom built screws, nuts, bolts, everything is fully defined, open, and configurable, changeable. Like I said, I wish I thought about that sooner. I don't know. It just popped in my head right this second. But that's I would say, well, like that's what the value we bring. Now we take longer sometimes. We have more skill. We cost more money, but in the end, you tend to get a product that you like better than a module or configuration.
Yeah, I certainly agree, and of course we're biased there, and I'm sure that everyone listening's nodding their head quite a bit. I think we have to look at all the sides of the coin, and somebody's going to say, well, if I can do this and get the job done with these tools, um, why do why is it that important to bring you in, and why do we have to make this more than that? And that's always this question that we have to uh, either answer or prove or explain in detail. Because well, one of the things that I'm finding, at least, is that as more people can do programming, it kind of lessens the concentration of good programmers per se, and it makes it so that if everybody can do it, how do you really show people the difference between somebody who has the years of experience and the skills and maybe the that extra know-how?
I think to really show this is to me to be a good programmer is knowing the proper tool. Just like a contractor who knows, oh yeah, module home is gonna do what you need. We'll go that route. Oh, you need this? Let's go custom. Like we don't need technology to solve every problem. So good programmer, almost like any good salesperson or any good installer, is going to give you the best product, maybe not the most costly, but the best product for your end goal. And that's where, to me, as a good AV person, programmer, designer, installer, whatever, is they're always looking at the end goal. What goal you're trying to achieve, and then find that solution that fits that goal. And that's, yeah, we have the variables of budget, time, and quality. And, you can only have the arrow going to two while it pulls away from one. We all know about that graph. So, really, is your good tech, your good person there, your quality, your value is showing how you can achieve that with the proper tools.
It's interesting. What comes to mind when you say that, I think of is building trust. So we have to prove that we can be trustworthy, counted on, that somebody wants to treat a programmer as a partner, feels like they're going to act in their best interest. I guess it's like you would do with any other contractor per se. You might you want the outcome, but you also want to be able to have a good experience as well with working with that person and knowing that that person's going to look out for you. And part of this is that the reason why a programmer, or why this conversation may be so difficult, is that it's hard for people to relate and understand what we do. So we have to be able to maybe have a better person to person conversation, and get them to invest in the fact that we're going to look out for their best interest.
And I think that's the hardest part of our field, in any tech field, is you look at most tech people, they're introverts. They're not really sociable people. Yeah, you have your outliers out there, but not really. The tech peoples are very to themselves. So you take a programmer who, and then you take an installer. They're not going to speak the same language all the time. So they live in their own world, we can say, or a silo, and it's expanding that world, expanding that horizon, and knowing, okay, yeah, I don't have to be a great installer, but I need to be able to work with this installer. And sometimes it might mean that us programmers need to, put that branch out first. But if we come in, all cocky, like, oh, you guys have no clue what I do, this is hard, they're gonna look at you and go, well, you have no clue what I do. My job is hard. And then you're butting heads. We're not in a competition. We're in a team. We're trying to achieve the same goal.
So I guess this kind of brings the conversation almost full circle to what we had a few episodes ago, where we talked about, how a programmer, or how people in these roles that are not as visible need to get out more. As you said, we're all more of introvert, but we're also um, we kind of keep what we do close to the vest a lot of times. So maybe, and it's easy to network within your own community, and that's certainly a start. But we have to be able to put it out to the rest of the world. So, for example, and maybe this is a good way that we could have our audience help, is maybe get more people listening to podcasts like these, so that they can understand and appreciate what a programmer does and their value, and educate the people that they're working with.
I agree. And put this out to let's put this out to our listeners. And I understand that we, like I mentioned earlier, we're introverts, and you don't always know the value that you can't always show the value we bring to your teamwork, teammates, or even your supervisor. Have them listen. Say, hey, this is what I'm going through daily. Like, take a listen to this podcast, or even the other great podcasts out there. There's a ton of them. State of Control is another great podcast that explains what's going on. It doesn't have to be this podcast, but you can say, hey, this is what I deal with on a daily basis. And it gives them it's like a nice way, you not saying to them, being like, "Hey, I'm busy," or "Hey, this is difficult," and it's like, "Here is someone in my field, and this is what they're talking about." And so you're almost like, I kind of chop it up, when you're a parent, you're dealing with a toddler, and if you tell the toddler, "Hey, we have to leave park," they're mad at you. But if you set an alarm and in and out of an object and say, when the timer goes off, it's time to leave. Now they're mad at the alarm. So you, even though they're still angry, they're still frustrated. Now their direction is at a different thing, and it doesn't hurt the relationship between the parent and the toddler because now it's another object that is causing the pain or the reason why we're leaving. And this is a good way to say, hey, this is what I deal with. Now you can still keep that relationship and they can listen to other experts in the field talking about what we're doing.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's very important, which kind of comes also back to the reason why there needs to be uh, a greater voice, I think, for programmers, software developers, those in these roles in the industry. Back in the day, there was a council that Avixa had that it was a called at the time Independent Programmers Council. It's something that I am trying to help encourage them to bring back in a different form so that programmers can congregate, but for the industry to understand that there's a lot of these people that are in this role. So I would like to hear if anyone thinks that there's value in that and wants to be part of it, and let's reach out and put names together so that we can find a voice that can be a way to let the other people in the industry in different roles understand that we exist and we're important and we have a lot to bring to the table.
I think that's a great idea, and you can count my name on that list.
It's it's always great when we could have these conversations and they kind of tie back to things that we're working on, or that we've been talking about a lot. But it's been a lot of years that um, I've been trying to make the industry understand what we do. So it's time to invest in others to also continue that effort and to help, because it's not I don't think that that's going away.
I agree.
So I probably a good place for us to wrap this one, but few calls to action out there, and we'd like to hear from you, listeners. Let us know what you think about this. Maybe we were a little bit uh, spirited about it, and trying to um, push it's a message out, but I'd like to hear what you have to say and what you think about this. James and I are very approachable on different mediums. So James, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, as always, on Twitter, Sunday morning, especially at the AV and the AM. My Twitter is AV_James King. I'm on LinkedIn, not as active. I'm starting to get a little more active on there. Anything with HEPMA, you'll probably find me involved with HEPMA, writer for the Higher Ed Digital Magazine, the IT and AV column. So I'm sure if you Google me, you'll find me.
Absolutely. And for me, you could reach me at Steve Greenblatt on all the social media platforms, and Twitter and LinkedIn are where I'm most active. And if there's some platforms that you're on that we should know about, let us know that as well. But to find our podcast, if it's you're not already listening in your favorite podcast player, you could also find the video version on YouTube. And we would like to hear from you, as we mentioned. So please reach out, and we'd really like to continue this conversation. But for now, that's what we have for today. And this has been Ask the Programmer.